Welcome to the StockMiner.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock miner, Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. And today, a very, very interesting end to the week. We ended up down about 1%, half a percent on the Dow, 1% on the S&P, and 1.5% on the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq still clearly leading the way downwards, showing lots of weakness lately, and no signs so far of a bounce. No major signs, I should say. There are signs of a potential bounce coming, but no major sign of a bounce yet. This definitely very, very bearish behavior over the last week and a half. Still retaining my neutral to bearish behavior. I'm waiting for the bounce to see where it takes us. But with the markets closing as they did today, man, really got to tip your hat to the bears and what they've done over the last week and a half. So I hope you, those of you that had long positions, were very cautious with those. I had expected, not expected, but I had thought that maybe back in this area we would see a bigger bounce. Thought we might have gotten it once we got up and above this 20 period moving average on the 60-minute chart. I thought maybe we were on our way for a little larger bounce, and was not the case. Now the Bears are kind of playing the same game the Bulls did for a long time, and that's they're starting to slap the Bears as they try to pull this thing back up. So let's blow through this a little bit. Super Silent Steve, I have a little something for you at the end, so if you want to stick around, I'll do just a really quick thing on Google. I got your response on the YouTube and noticed that I kind of understood then what you were actually talking about. That makes more sense. So anyway, we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Dow on a 60-minute, you can see it slowly wandering its way down, just as it seems this thing's going to come up and maybe try to make an attempt to bounce. The market just keeps pulling it back up. So the selling pressure heavy the last week and a half, and you can see it reflected here on a daily. This just looks like a big move down, another move up. You can call this a bear flag. I would call it probably maybe a bear flag. You can call it a low base, whatever you'd like to. But notice that regardless, direction was down. So a breakdown here by the end of the week, finishing way down here near it below the 10-100 mark, which was a major area of support for me on the Dow. It did finish above 10,000, but really no consolation. Certainly nothing to be overly bullish about. It does look like this move could be completing down here in this area, but only time will tell. So we will wait to see if we get one early next week. I do expect a bounce to come somewhere before Thursday of next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think we would see a more major bounce back up here to the upside. We will continue to watch that, and I'll do more on that this weekend. So we'll just wrap it up for the week here, and you can see this move down in the Nasdaq. Sharp move down, base sideways, move down as the tech stocks start to sell off quite a bit. I think Apple took it kind of hard again today as well. Nasdaq on a daily coming back here, breaking this heavier level of support and touching, or almost touching, this area right here. The low today of 1734. I think my line's right about 1730. So you can see it just really losing steam here. Heavy selling coming into the market. Look at these big volume bars as the sell-off ensues. From a weekly standpoint now, we can clearly see a close below the 20-week moving average on the weekly. That is major to see a close below there. Next line could be the 1701. If it doesn't bounce here, this would be my next line in the sand, 1701. SPX on a 60-minute, you can see it also falling apart, just continuing the slow grind downwards. Typical of a Elliott wave to the downside, an impulse wave as it would be, where it never really gives you an opportunity to get short if you got out. I told my subscribers, very adamant about getting short below the 1130 area. And then after that, if they couldn't get short there, if they missed that move to 1115, I told them to get short again at the 1110 area. And you can see since those 2 points have been broken, there's just been no opportunity to really get in on a more major move to the downside from a short standpoint. And certainly every one of these bounces now have probably got some of you, if not most of you, trying to call the bottom. You're buying down here and you're buying down here and you're buying down here and you're buying down here, and now you just keep bleeding to death. For those of you that are still short from up in these areas, you're just continuing to make profits every single day. This market will let us know for sure when it's ready for a much larger bounce. We'll talk more about that this weekend. Here we are on a daily, and look at what we see here, right back down to this lower channel line, and that's right around the 1070 area. The low of the day was 1071.59, so right to or at the 1070, 1069 to 1070 area, which I had talked about, and we still may not be done yet. Look at this move down, move sideways, move down. So very, very strong wave to the downside happening here. The bear is really starting to take over, and we're in for. I would venture to say that we'll probably end up getting a little larger pullback here. We'll see what the bounce brings us and how far we get on that bounce. But I, at this point, would be very pessimistic against a move above 1150. I'll have to see some major breaks of some overhead areas before I start thinking about it even getting back to 1150 again. SPX on a weekly, you can see it also closing below the 20-week moving average. The VIX moving up as well, so little move up here, little pullback, little move up. If this was maybe an EW, I don't know if you could really count it, but a 1, 2, this looks like a 3, a 4, and so we could have another 5 move to the upside, which would mean more downside yet to come within the markets themselves. VIX on a weekly, you can see after last week's move, it held up very nicely here, so there is fear starting to slowly creep its way back into the markets. It held up above these levels now. So you can see the fear start to come back in. Apple on a 60-minute, absolutely getting crushed.